I'm Rana here. Today I will be discussing the political self. For a learning outcome, students will be able to recognize the distinct identity we have as Filipinos and learn about some of our roles and responsibilities as a Filipino. These are the subtopics of the lesson for today. First, introduction of political self, developing a Filipino identity, values, traits, community and institutional factors. Second, aspects in developing Filipino identity. Next, establishing a democratic culture. Fourth, who are we as Filipinos? And lastly, the citizens' duties and responsibilities. Before I start, I want you to pause for a minute and think about this question. Who am I as a Filipino? You can write it down on a piece of paper or you can just pause for a while and reflect. Let's proceed. Introduction of political self, developing a Filipino identity, values, traits, community, and institutional factors. Understanding the self requires us to understand who we are in relations to the community. In this topic, let's answer the question, who am I as a Filipino? For a long time, Filipino behavior has been analyzed and interpreted in the light of Western theories. Let's now examine Filipino identity in the eyes of Filipinos themselves. In this lesson, I will go through the distinct identity we have as Filipinos, particularly the traits and values we have in common amidst our diversity in culture. I will also discuss some of our roles and responsibilities as a Filipino. Aspects in developing Filipino identity: individual attitudes, values, and traits. Collective action, shared vision, means of sustainable future, and the link to generation has been crucial in the construction of identity and sense of belonging in the democratic standpoint. The level of individual, community, and institution are primary factors that come into play in the building of an identity. Citizenship, or being a Filipino, serves as a cognitive and motivational basis for one's beliefs and behavior. There are three aspects in developing Filipino, and these are individual attitudes, values, and traits. Second, institutional factors. And third, macro factors at the societal level. First is the individual attitudes, values, and traits. If your course is psychology, you'll have a subject called Filipino Psychology or Psikolohiyang Pilipino. In this subject, there will be an in-depth discussion of different attitudes, values, and traits of the Filipinos. It endeavors to study Filipino characteristics, interactions, among others, utilizing the experience, thought, and orientation of the Filipinos, based on the full use of Filipino culture and language. I will discuss two core values and traits of Filipinos, which are utang na loob and bahala na. First is utang na loob. Filipinos are known to value interpersonal relationship. Filipinos seek to act on their utang na loob to exchange the favor that they have earlier received as a means to maintain smooth interpersonal relations with others in the community. It means gratitude and solidarity. Bahala na. Bahala na originated from Bathala na, where our ancestors would leave everything to Bathala, the god they worship. According to Filipino psychology, bahala na rather shows the determination and risk-taking attitude of Filipinos. So Filipinos are willing to face the difficulties head on and do something about these hardships no matter what it takes. When Filipinos utter the expression bahala na, they are not leaving their fate to God and remain passive. Rather, they are telling themselves that they are ready to face the difficult situation and will do their best to achieve their goals. Next aspect in developing Filipino identity, institutional factors. Identity construction is shaped by societal agencies that enter the life of the individual from childhood and to the rest of the person's life. The institutions which shape and influence the values of citizenship are the family, church, school, media, government, and non government organizations. One of the core values of Filipino psychology or Filipinos is bayanihan. Bayanihan shows the community spirit wherein people in the community help one another, easing the workload of another when in need. In times of crisis, bayanihan spirit is very evident. I had the opportunity to witness this when we were deployed for how many days in different parts of southern Mindanao when series of earthquakes struck last 2019. We gave psychosocial support to the kids in Makilala, Tulunan, Magsaysay, and Hagonoy. And it's not just us who gave help. There were private entities and local government units that gave assistance to the people. Lastly, aspects in developing Filipino identity, macro factors at the societal level. At the macro level, the factors that come into play in creating values vary according to the definition of society. At least two sub-levels coexist: the immediate community, which one readily identifies oneself, and the larger, less intimate grouping, which one is a member, but inactive or detached. In the immediate community, one might identify as a part of an indigenous community, so they have their own set of values and shared goals. Government decisions hardly affect them, and basic services are out of their reach. Next is establishing a democratic culture. Sense of community, public good, and empowerment of people are considered in the development of democracy agenda. Democratic agenda focuses on the political and social requirements of effective citizenship. It proposes the following agenda, so it has five agenda. First, improve the political and social environment and reduce poverty through structural reforms in order to foster a sense of community and enable citizens to exercise their rights and fulfill their obligations. Second, continually re-examine societal institutions responsible for value formation so that they can inculcate rather than indoctrinate demo- uh, demo- democratic citizenship values. Third, incorporate cross-cultural activities in public and private sector programs including those of schools, churches, NGOs to recognize ethno-linguistic and cultural diversity in the country and encourage the sharing of experiences. Fourth, further promote the use of Filipino and Philippine languages in all transactions to enable the articulation of citizenship and democratic views and values. Lastly, continue to harness institutional as well as informal mechanisms that open space for the exercise of citizenship and democracy. Who we are as Filipinos. I've mentioned citizenships. So, what is citizenship? Membership in a political society is called citizenship. So, citizenship denotes a reciprocal allegiance between the member of the state and vice versa. The 1987 Constitution, Article 4, Section 1, provides us the list of those who are considered Filipino citizens. First, those who are citizens of the Philippines at the time of the adoption of the 1987 Constitution. Second, those whose fathers or mothers are citizens of the Philippines. Third, those born before January 17, 1973 of Filipino mothers who elect Philippine citizenship upon reaching the age of majority. And lastly, those who are naturalized in accordance with the law. The citizen's duties and responsibilities. We have rights that we enjoy as citizens, but with these rights come with duties and obligations to the state and to our fellow citizens. First, register and vote. The right of suffrage is a sacred obligation. Voting is an exercise of independent and wise judgment to choose the most qualified and fit to serve the country. So please vote for someone who is competent and has a proven track record of integrity. So don't vote for someone who is just popular. As much as possible, research. And always remember, don't just exercise your right to vote, maximize it. So please register before September 30. Let's vote next year. Second, uphold the Constitution and obey the laws. By upholding the Constitution and obeying the laws, we are promoting the welfare of the country and our fellow citizens. So if you're asking how can I contribute to the betterment of the Philippines, one of the best answers would be obey the law, rules, and regulations of the state. And lastly, respect the rights of others. So the rights that were given to us do not give us the unrestricted license or permission to exercise these to the detriment of others. So thank you so much for listening to my lecture. I hope you've learned something from me. So thank you and God bless.